Well, hello, that's me again. Today is the March 4th, 2025. It is Tuesday, right? I kind of lost the track of things. I love internet. I love internet because it keeps the record, if you wish. And we are in the process now of, how to say it, getting acquainted with actual actions, pardon me for tautology here, but yeah, as I am on record for many years, words, well, yeah, words also matter, make no mistake, words do matter, but it's the practical step or other practical steps which you have to keep in mind when judging any kind of their intentions or processes, especially on the global arena. And I want to, but that is why I love internet. I want to kind of, rewind back a little bit, albeit it will be one of the posts in my blog, which I made throughout the years of 3 years of the special military operation, which will give you some understanding of what is this all about. This one, however, we are dealing with Tucker, and as you can see yourself, this is was on Sunday, February 11th, 2024. So it was more than 1 year ago, slightly more than 1 year ago. And when I was speaking about the demilitarization of NATO, I also pointed out, especially after Tucker's interview with Vladimir Putin, that it is now all about saving face while accepting a reality. Keep in mind, it was Biden administration which was driving the United States and the rest of the world into the ground and possibly towards the World War III. It could be indeed done with dignity, or it could be Afghanistan on steroids to the fifth power. It is for the US to decide how it will go. Why I was making these statements, and I was making those statements, as I already stated, practically from the first day of the special military operation, because it was just a matter of operational, so to speak, shuffling, if you wish, for Russia, which introduced at that time, on the February 2022, the peacetime army, and it was primarily demonstration or tour de force, demonstration of force for the Ukrainian regime, for the Kiev regime, and, well, who would have expected at that time that Mr. Johnson, the then Prime Minister of Great Britain or United Kingdom, on behalf of Biden administration, he will come into the in Istanbul, where the Russian and Ukrainian delegations were discussing the parameters of the demilitarization and neutrality of Ukraine, and will screw it up. And then that is when which was on the first days of April. That means more than 1 month after Russian army basically invaded what used to be Ukraine. And it was then that the special military operation started in earnest. And here is the deal. If you remember, when Tucker was talking to Vladimir Putin, here is what Vladimir Putin stated, February 8th, 2024. As Vladimir Putin stated, after, well, that West is beginning to realize that there will be no strategic defeat of the Russian Federation. And he said Russia's strategic defeat will never be achieved. And the West, including the ruling class, is beginning to realize this. Russian President Vladimir Putin said in an interview with Tucker Carlson. And here is the critical point, which many people actually, as usual, just ignored or read over it or absolutely didn't even notice it. And here is what Tucker asked Vladimir Putin. The journalist also asked Putin if he thinks that it would be too humiliating for NATO to recognize Russia's control over Donbass and Novorossiya right now. And I said, let them think about how to do it with dignity. There are options, but only if there is a desire, the president stated. This was the thing which I was dealing with and I was speaking about well before the famous interview between Tucker and Vladimir Putin. And you can go to my blog and see yourself that how many times I was speaking about the fact that in the end it will be all about saving face. And in the end, when we knew that Mr. Trump has won elections, that it will be up to Mr. Trump in a very short period of time, when he has to completely disassociate himself and his administration from this criminal war which was unleashed by NATO. And here we are. We suddenly get the news, and again, make no mistake, this is action. These are news about actions, practical steps by the United States. But in the same time, we have to wait for the very solid confirmation. There is not. It's not 100% solid. It's very high probability that it is already happening, and the U.S. media pretty much in mass report on that. But here we have the pretty much, very standoffish, but I mean a positive response, basically about what we allegedly observe now, that Kremlin responds to reports of Trump move on Ukrainian aid. The U.S. freezing military assistance to Kyiv would be a great contribution to peace, Russian spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said. Speaking to journalists on Tuesday, today, Peskov stated that while the details of these reports have yet to be confirmed, such a move could prove to be a significant step towards de-escalation. And here is conclusion. It is obvious that the US has been the main supplier of military aid to Kyiv, Peskov noted, adding that if the US were to relinquish this role or suspend supplies altogether, it would probably be the best contribution to the cause of peace. So some reports from the logistical points in Poland, where usually the mainstream of the American supplies for the Kiev regime was happening, they report actually that there is a halt essentially. Well, if that's happening, this is good. And this gets us back to the square one of what I was talking about from the get-go, practically, of the special military operation, when those old narratives have been floating around about Russians being defeated and just Russian economy about to collapse and all kinds of things. And we have this still yet. There's, as I already stated, the journalist profession. Quoting Hunter Thompson, it's not a profession. They are whores. Basically, they report whatever they told, and there is no integrity or honor, especially among the Western journalists. I mean, establishment journalists, make no mistake. So, and the question is now, people ask, two of them actually questions. But before we go and talk about these two questions, one of the issues which has to be understood, there are several programs through which the primarily ammunition and all those missiles, very few of them actually, to all those, ATACMS and, Patriots have been delivered to Ukraine by United States. And one of them is, which is most important, is President Drawdown Authority, PDA, and this is just one of many programs. So if this one is halted, Ukraine is in trouble. And but the question now is which, if any, and which, if all of them, if you wish, have been halted. But obvious, the question is, how long will Ukraine last? Well, not very long. I mean, Russians will deal with it as they deal right now, just not very in rush, eliminating an enormous quantities of the Ukrainian personnel. And the other question is that, can Europe take place of United States? I will give you answer immediately. No. Europe military industrial capabilities are pathetic. No, they still can produce tanks, they still can produce some kind of the standoff weapons such as Taurus in Germany or whatever, Storm Shadow Scalp in France. But those are not produced in required quantities. And again, quantity and combat efficiency of those systems are, well, to put it mildly, dubious. And Europe actually sucks compared to United States, considering the fact that in terms of the real warfare, United States doesn't have the bar very high, to put it mildly. It certainly has the capability to produce some of the weapons, yet still Russia will outproduce United States and NATO combined by 4 times, fourfold. So, and good luck to Europe trying to supply this, which inevitably brings us to the assumption, which is correct assumption, that, well, for example, Great Britain or United Kingdom, which is not good militarily, they never were actually in terms of the combined arms warfare, and they were always, it's primarily all this PR about them. They will resort to what they usually do: terrorism and sabotage. This is the thing which they do really well. They do really well, but no, I mean, in terms of the requirement, sustainment of the force, only the United States could do it more or less, and even then, as Mr. J.D. Vance stated, that neither Ukraine nor United States, let alone Europe, can continue to do this war. I mean, United States, we, again, as already stated, we don't know the whole situation with the, well, basically ammunition depots, and what is the untouchable storage of the this ammunition and weapon systems in the United States. Evidently, Biden administration put their hand, so to speak, deep into those which are, untouchable resources, which are untouchable storages, so to speak, of ammunition and weapon systems and things of this nature. So we have this situation, but because as you know, as I already stated, establishment media, and especially neocon establishment media in the United States, is a bunch of the cretins and, well, warmongers, war criminals. Many of them are direct war criminals. We have this situation which, if you know what, it's alternative universe. It's not even parallel universe. It's something on the outskirts, if it's even possible to be that, of the multiverse, those trillions upon trillions, one of the hypotheses of the, huge multiverse. It's on the outskirts of even that multiverse. And the laws of physics, logic, chemistry, or what have you, do not, rule that universe. And that is the universe where people from the Newsweek, these butthurt neocons, and Mr. Ben Hodges live. Here it is. They are butthurt, obviously. So here it is. I mean, guys, I'm sorry. This is what it is. Trump's hold on Ukraine aid could backfire for Russia. Retired U.S. general. I'm not gonna comment on the sheer delirium, utter delirium, which American generals, many American retired generals, delivered over the last years. That it's, but Mr. Ben Hodges, he lives in this, universe at the outskirts of the, well, essentially infinite multiverse. So if that could be even possible. So, and he believes that, actually Russia will get hurt by United States halting the supply of their weapons. I don't know. I really, sometimes I'm lost for words because there is no rational way to explain this or comment on that. But this is exactly what, for example, Western media are. People, the narrative mongers, these are what the people from the Biden and Obama administrations were. They were incompetent nincompoops who believed in all kinds of fairy tales about warfare, having zero competences in that. And, wow, my gosh, if you look attentively at Mr. Milley, then chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was talking about, it was like, really? This is the guy who is supposed to be big honcho in the U.S. military. But here you are, just go back to internet, do the Google thing or whatever, the Yahoo thing, look for those statements and those ideas and concepts. It is downright scary. That is why Russians were scared in the sense that if this is the level of competences, so to speak, quote unquote, how you can talk to those people. Luckily, it looks like Mr. Trump understood, together with Mr. J.D. Vance, who is one of the main engines, propellers behind it, that, this has to stop, and, United States has only one chance to get out with saving face, with some dignity, and Russians are ready to work with the United States as long as the United States does practical steps. Halting the weapons is the practical step, and as Mr. J.D. Vance stated himself, I am not sure it's going to be properly reported in the Western media, but it's certainly reported in the Russian media, in attributing his quote that, not only is it impossible to continue to support because there are no resources for the United States, let alone Europe, but the fact that in private all those chihuahuas from Europe say that, yeah, please do something about it, because obviously Europe is militarily impotent. And now when you look at those numbers, many people still do not understand what is going on. This is what Russians do. This is today's losses of the Ukrainian armed forces, which continue to commit together with all those Polish, French, British so-called mercenaries and advisors who, as we all know, come to Ukraine to be cooks, all kinds of people of this nature. In reality, of course, they are the cadre officers, and yeah, they do not have real skills to fight against Russians, but they still are there and they commit atrocities. And I'm not gonna go and show you something what those people do. They, for example, stick sneakers with the explosives. And what can I say? This is a good old tradition of the terrorism in the Western so-called armies. And as you can see yourself, today we have more than 1,500 killed essentially, and so to speak, the trend upward continues because Russians are, well, they basically cut off the Ukrainian grouping in the in Kursk area, and there are some increased activity, for example, even on the Zaporozhye operational axis. So the slaughter continues, and it will continue until there is be conscious now from Ukraine, including all those, the Nazi, battalions, as they call it, in reality, brigades, actually, or whatever is left of them, they are beginning to say, we are about to collapse. Well, yeah, that was the point. That's what wars are fought for on the tactical and operational level, to collapse the front. And now, with this thing going on, and evidently there's some, again, make no mistake, we need to wait for absolutely rock-solid confirmation, but some of the supplies being halted by the United States, yeah, Ukraine, well, it didn't have the chance to start with, it just was the matter of how fast this state of Ukraine will be, and its neo-Nazi regime in Kiev will be exterminated. And this is happening as we speak. So, and then, of course, if that Mr. Just to demonstrate to you, if Mr. Ben Hodges wasn't enough, we have Mr. Trump, of course, talking about things which everybody talks about, that we should spend less time worrying about Putin and more time worrying about migrant rape gangs, drug lords, murderers, and people from mental institutions entering our country, so that we don't end like Europe. He's absolutely correct. Europe is basically done, and the question is not only about this multiculturalism, which of course we know euphemism for the, basically substitution of or a removal of the indigenous population. But, so here we have another, statement by Mr. Trump the same day that this is the worst statement. Ukraine, Zelensky says, end of war with Russia is very, very far away. And he said that this is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has American backing, and Europe in the meeting they had with Zelensky stated flatly they cannot do the job without the US. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? Yes, we know they do not think in Europe because it is the political elites in the West in general. They are incompetent and they are ideological fanatics pretty much. If you look attentively at, for example, German government, or you look attentively at Mr. Macron, these are, the windsocks essentially, depending on how United States defines itself. Well, they do, constant statements. Yes, we will send, peacekeepers. No, we will not. No, we will send peacekeepers. You're not going to send peacekeepers. Europe, read my lips. Unless Russia decides to allow you to be in any way present somewhere else in the, most likely, if it happens, it's going to be in the form of Polish armed forces in the Western Ukraine. NATO is not going there, and those who will go in, they will be killed. It doesn't matter how many, not many. There are, as already stated, European armies are pathetic. They are literally, it's really almost, I'm embarrassed to talk about them because these are not real armies. They cannot put a real serious combat ready formation on the size of division. They talk about brigades, and their brigades, pardon me. Anyhow, pardon me, I had to answer this because, well, it doesn't matter. So anyhow, we have the situation about Europeans, which we need to keep in mind, just to everybody knows now. There's no discussion even about that because only complete imbeciles from Wall Street Journal may go and pretend that somehow, Germany has this great GDP and all things of this nature, which is complete fictional indices. But in reality, when, for example, people look at the Bundeswehr or, in general, and Luftwaffe is one example, it's not real army. It's, apart from the fact that they produce garbage weapon systems. But here it is, just to give you a little bit of taste, if you wish. Here we have this German engineering giant announces more job cuts. It was yesterday. Bosch, yes, this famous Bosch. It's not only automotive parts. They produce everything from refrigerators to, stoves, what have you. So they are a giant and they had a very serious reputation, albeit I would have to say, as any German thing is, they are over-engineered and dramatically overpriced, for example, in the American market. So, but Bosch has reportedly signaled that up to 10,000 positions could be at risk. While the exact number of layoffs has yet to be announced, the reported move will add to a series of workforce reductions by the company in November. The Stuttgart-based group announced plans to slash 5,500 jobs over the next several years. And so they're talking about, well, basically I highlighted to you of what is the main reason. Fanaticism, complete lack of engineering, serious engineering and fundamental science expertise, and basically totalitarian state. Germany is totalitarian state, as is UK and even France. These are the basically, how to say it, playground of fanatics. And here it is, they're reckoning with a slower than expected transition to electric vehicles. Normal people, unless they live in the small town, which they can actually navigate in the electric vehicles. In the United States, you cannot have electric vehicles if you do the, and exercise the real, spatial freedom of the United States, which is, of course, it's still outstanding. It's the best in the world highway system, and especially by its scale, you cannot go far on the electric vehicles. You need to have good old, internal combustion engines, and then you can get anywhere you want, just by driving. So, well, considering the minuscule size comparative to the United States, let alone Russia, or even Canada, of the European countries, they probably have idea that electric vehicles are good. I mean, was a good option. It's not. It's, well, Chinese do it because they just can make it cheaper, and they're just following the trend, So, and we will not be able to avoid further job cuts, he says. So, Hartung also cited the shift from combustion to electric engines, highlighting that it will inevitably result in significant job losses. Oh, absolutely. In Germany, it will continue, and at some point of time, as it is happening as elsewhere in Europe, basically, recessions will turn into the depressions, and they better prepare some kitchen soup kitchens, pardon me, for. And I'm not envying Europeans, honestly. And it's already happening. And so this is just one of the facets of why Mr. Trump and Mr. J.D. Vance say what they say. I repeat ad nauseam for many years. Out of the combined West, the only country which has a chance of getting out without compromising itself and sustaining itself on some level, the United States will not also live as it used to, but still it will continue to exist unless, of course, internal contradictions, especially driven by the Democratic National Committee and, well, basically those remnants of criminal regimes of Biden and Obama will continue to drive and split country. Other than that, it should be okay, especially if the issue of the so-called immigration, in reality invasion of the country, will be addressed. And this is where the U.S. Army is really needed. This is the real defensive function of the U.S. Armed Forces, not invading some third world crap holes and changing a regime there and then saying, oh, we're great, we defeated it. How about, defeating what is real, essentially the threat to the national security? And when we go further, in conclusion, so to speak, I want to say that, you know what, sometimes you look at this and that's what is this all about. It is about money. So I laughed really when I saw this news from defense news that, yeah, Poland. You know what? It's unbelievable. So yeah, Poland signed the contract with the United States to have 96 Apache combat helicopters, attack helicopters, and the deliveries are supposed to start in 2028, no less. But look at this. The Polish Ministry of National Defense has signed a 300 million deal to lease 8 Boeing H-64D Apache helicopters from the United States this year. The contract comes in anticipation of the deliveries of 96 Apaches, which they ordered in August 2024. You know what? For the United States, it's a great deal. $300 million, man. I mean, just unbelievable. So this is all about making money. It doesn't matter that modern Western helicopters, well, Apache is a good helicopter, make no mistake, but it really never encountered any serious air defense and counter helicopter operations by both, let's say, helicopters and by the air forces, strictly the, jet planes, the combat planes. So, but it's, what can I say? It's really funny then when you observe this. And so what can I say? That's pretty much it for today, guys. And this is what I wanted to tell you today. And if this is real action, I hope it is real action, good. We're beginning to kind of go, well, I want to almost quote Churchill. It's not the, beginning of the end, but the end of the beginning, so to speak. And we have to wait and see where it all gets us, but this is a good practical step. And looks like the March meeting between Russian and American delegations have been either cancelled or postponed. But again, keep in mind, there is a lot of kabuki theory to all that, and Russians probably just are waiting and trying to see what will come out of it, meanwhile continuing to annihilate whatever is left of the armed forces of Ukraine. And this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. That will allow me to continue to do what I'm doing. So have a nice rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.